Imagine this, a woman in a wheelchair, parked outside a small store, surrounded by a menacing group of men demanding money, mocking her disability, when suddenly, out of nowhere, shadows move in. What none of them know is that the shadows belong to elite warriors, men who once trained to survive the impossible. This is not fiction. This is the true story of one of the most jaw-dropping encounters between innocence, cruelty, and unshakable courage. In 2010, in a quiet American town near Virginia Beach, a woman named Kimberly, paralyzed from the waist down after a car accident years earlier, was on her way home. She had lived a life most people wouldn't believe, daily battles with her body, rejection from people who only saw the chair, and the relentless effort to prove she could still live with dignity. Her only desire was to be treated like anyone else, but life had cruelties waiting for her still. One evening, after buying groceries, Kimberly wheeled herself down the dimly lit street. That's when 5 men blocked her path. Gangsters from the local neighborhood, known for extortion and violence, surrounded her chair. They mocked her inability to stand, tipping her cart over, scattering food across the pavement. One leaned down and whispered, "What's a cripple going to do when we take her purse?" For most people, there would be no way out, and Kimberly felt her pulse sink. It was the helpless nightmare she had imagined 1,000 times, yet what happened next would etch her story into military folklore. Because that night, fate placed her tormentors in the wrong place, at the worst possible time. Across the street, at a low-key diner, a group of off-duty Navy SEALs, quiet, unrecognizable in hoodies and plain t-shirts, were celebrating the end of a grueling training cycle. These were men who had fought ambushes in Iraq, survived night raids in Afghanistan, and buried more brothers than they cared to remember. But on this night, they were just grabbing coffee until they saw Kimberly, until they heard her cry for help. What followed lasted less than 30 seconds, but witnesses said it looked like an explosion of shadows. Chairs overturned, fists cracked, bodies hit asphalt. The gangsters went from laughing to gasping for air, pinned, twisted, held down with surgical precision. SEALs don't start fights, but they know how to finish them. None of the men who terrorized her could even comprehend what they'd stumbled into. One of them, later interviewed by local police, said, "They weren't men, they were phantoms." But here's the part of the story people don't talk about. When the danger was over, Kimberly wasn't just left in peace. One of the SEALs, with arms covered in scars, picked up her groceries from the ground, placed them gently on her lap and said, "Don't let them make you believe you're weak. Strength isn't about standing, it's about refusing to fall when life tries to break you." Kimberly never forgot those words. She later went on to counsel other disabled women, teaching them how to reclaim their confidence against bullies and abusers. She became a voice in her community, not because she once met Navy SEALs, but because she finally believed she was never truly helpless. That single moment of courage, when strangers stood up for her, ignited her own. And here's the deeper truth. The SEALs didn't just save Kimberly from 5 violent men. They reminded the world that bravery isn't always about battles in foreign lands. Sometimes, the most heroic fight is standing up for dignity on our own streets. This story isn't about soldiers or gangsters. It's about what happens when unseen courage meets human cruelty head-on. Kimberly's life was changed that night. And for those SEALs who had witnessed the darkest sides of humanity, it was one of the rare times they came home and felt they'd fought for something just as important as any mission overseas. Heroes aren't defined by uniforms, and strength isn't measured by legs that walk. It's measured by spirits that never surrender. Like and subscribe for stories the world has almost forgotten, but should never stop remembering.